Good morning, Flagler County. I'm Rich Carroll. You're listening to Flagler's Morning News on Thursday, November 18th, and this local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, here to wow you. Former Flagler County Sheriff Jim Manfrey makes the short list to be Palm Coast's next city manager. 6 candidates will move on to the background check stage and may possibly get an interview. Manfrey was on 3 of 5 council members' lists. Councilman Eddie Branchino says Manfrey was on his top 10, but not his top 5.
Some of these people were not on my top 5, to be honest with you. But now gives me a better chance to go look at them and do a little more of an investigation. And if those 6 are our finalists, then I think we should stick with those 6.
Councilman Ed Danko suggested each council member pick 2 people to move forward.
There's candidates that I would like to hear from, I guess, in an interview setting that, I've had a couple of conversations. If we each pick 2, we may all pick one that overlaps, or a few of us overlap, but we still leave a couple of people out there that we may want to go further pursue rather than just cut them off like that.
5 other finalists who each got 2 votes were all men. Vince Akahimi, Anthony Carson, Sean Hennessy, Patrick Marsh, and Scott Moy. Councilman Nick Klufis.
It's a little disappointing that we don't have much diversity that it seems amongst this list, but we're at the mercy of the applicants that applied.
Wherever this process ends, Mayor David Alfin says he hopes council can streamline its criteria so they're all examining finalists in the same way.
The goal would be to take our criteria and match it as closely as we can to a candidate in the hopes of identifying a single candidate at the end.
Manfrey said he's honored to have made it on the short list. Flagler County will use nearly $7.5 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds to expand broadband access. Amy Cherry reports.
The access is coming to the western part of the county through a private-public partnership between county government and Charter Communications. Flagler County Commission Chair Joe Mullins says Flagler County is light years ahead of other places on this issue.
While most counties in the country are talking about addressing the broadband issue, we have done it in a year. We have moved fast and done it in a year. But this is so important for education. It's so important for our kids. It's so important for our community, medical, quality of life.
Commissioner Dave Sullivan wanted to make it clear that the internet access isn't free.
There'll be some cost to the individual user. Now, it may be adjusted per income source that these people have and so forth. But I want to make sure there's no thought that we're trying to provide free actual internet to individual users. What we're trying to do is provide them access.
Greg Blase, president and CEO of the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber of Commerce, applauded the expansion that's part of their legislative agenda and says it's key for rural families.
To see an organization like Charter step up with millions and millions of dollars to get the infrastructure rolled out, to bring access to these services, especially during a time of a pandemic when people have to do doctor's appointments online and maybe even do school online. So I think this is an example of Flagler County getting it right.
Phase 1 will cost nearly $5 million and will provide broadband access to more than 800 homes. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Amy Cherry.
A new phone scam is making the rounds in Flagler County. Rich Petchke has details.
Sheriff Rick Staley says it is called the Google Voice Scam.
Many of our residents use Facebook Marketplace swap sites and Craigslist to sell unwanted items. Scammers then contact the seller using Google Voice to obtain your identity or steal money from your accounts.
Staley says some people would rather spend time trying to con people out of their hard-earned money and commit identity theft rather than make an honest living.
If people try to ask for personal information, remember, no item is worth selling that's going to cause you to have your identity stolen. So if the buyer sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and it's a scammer. Don't respond or hang up on them.
The Identity Theft Resource Center and the Federal Trade Commission offer many up-to-date resources for citizens and consumers. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Rich Petchke.
It's nearly time for the Starlight Festival in Palm Coast. Karen Johnson has more.
You can celebrate the holiday season with your friends and neighbors at the City of Palm Coast Starlight Festival in Central Park. The event will be held on Saturday, December 11th from 4 to 9 p.m. and is free to the public. And Lauren Johnston, Chief of Staff Citizen Engagement, says the Starlight Festival will look a little different this year.
Now we're doing a easier to navigate format where people will be able to come and see the floats at their leisure instead of a long winding parade shutting down major roads and trying to cram 10,000 people into the park, which we do not have adequate parking for.
Palm Coast City Councilman Ed Danko is pleased with the positive changes for safety reasons.
It's difficult to drive. The lighting is not perfect. There's 10,000 people, kids running in front of your car. It's a dangerous situation. I'm glad we've done something before we've had an issue.
All live entertainment performances will be scheduled in front of the Christmas tree in Central Park, and Santa will be there too. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
Students communicating on social media is a sign of the times.
2 of the 4 students we've been talking with from Flagler, Palm Coast, and Matanzas high schools say that some forms of social media have fallen out of favor, while others are quite useful.
We're kind of stuck on the Snapchat and the Instagram and TikTok because that's like entertaining to us. It's not so much like other people's lives. It's just people making content to keep our attention, and, like distract us from something.
Corbin Payne from Matanzas says each platform has its pros and cons. FPC senior Preston Roberts said he uses Twitter for a specific reason.
I DM with coaches on Twitter, post all my highlights on Twitter. The positive side of social media is definitely getting yourself out there.
All agree that social media is the way to go to spread positive vibes about your school or something going on in Flagler County. Common Ground is on WNZF every Sunday morning at 10. Tomorrow, do students see a divide in school or out of school? From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.